the whistleblower should be revealed.
Both of them defied congressional subpoenas and refused to appear for their scheduled depositions.
When you're talking about the removal of the President of the United States, undoing democracy, undoing what the American public had voted for, I think that individual should come before the committee.
The latest development in the attempt to impeach the president and the news on Powerhouse Tactical.
Both of them defied congressional subpoenas and refused to appear for their scheduled depositions, as has been the case with other witnesses who have done the same thing. We expect the witnesses who have been subpoenaed to come in this afternoon at White House instruction also to be no-shows. This will only further add to the body of evidence on a potential obstruction of Congress charge against the president.
So today, there were 4 White House officials that were scheduled to come in and testify in the Adam Schiff's hearing for the impeachment. So Robert Blair, aide to White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, Michael Ellis, Senior Associate Counsel for the President and also a Deputy National Security Counsel's legal advisor. So they're both lawyers. John Eisenberg, Assistant and Deputy Counsel to the President, another lawyer, and Brian McCormick, Chief of Staff for the U.S. Department of Energy, also an attorney that works for the White House. It was completely expected that none of them would show up today, considering the fact that they work closely with the President and their attorneys. So attorney-client privilege, if anybody's ever heard of that. On top of that, there's an executive privilege where the information that happens with the president, information that is shared with and by the president, is protected by this this mechanism.
Today we have 4 additional subpoenas to add to the list of a potential charge involving the President of the United States and his obstruction of our constitutional duties.
So here's another talking point: obstruction of their constitutional duties.
I will say this, it's quite obvious and we fully expected this. We have seen a series of shifting, ever-changing rationales for this campaign of obstruction.
As the hearing, namely Adam Schiff, called for these 4 witnesses, he himself just admitted that he had expected them to not show up. It is pretty obvious. It's obvious that the whole request for this appearances are pretty much traps. He knows they're not going to show up. He calls for them. They don't show up. And he cries out obstruction.
First, there was the argument, we won't comply, don't have to comply until there's a formal vote on the House floor. Well, we had a formal vote on the House floor.
They did. They did have that vote. And the vote actually passed with 0 Republican votes. Just a few weeks ago, Democrats swore that this impeachment proceedings will be bipartisan. They will not impeach the president without bipartisan support.
Then it was, we don't have to make these witnesses available because they're senior officials and they're given absolute immunity, even though no court has ever upheld the claims of absolute immunity. Indeed, the only one.
Oh my God. Nobody is claiming absolute immunity. You shifty Schiff, Adam. They're talking about executive privilege, which is afforded to every president there has been in this country.
Shifted once again to, well, we're not going to let them come forward because you won't let agency lawyers present.
Everyday citizen who is arrested or who is being accused or being questioned by the police of even a petty crime gets to have the right to have an attorney present. let alone a duly elected president. President is not above the law, but president represents the millions and millions of votes that elected him there. So when you're questioning and trying to get that duly elected president out of office, even higher than most level of due process should be required and exercised.
And again, that would violate the House deposition rules. It would also violate the practice used by both Democrats and Republicans for depositions in the past when there are concerns that agency lawyers are representing agencies that may have been engaged in wrongdoing or may use facts gained in the investigation to prejudice other witnesses in the investigation.
Okay. The deep state leftists are really good at this. They're really good at pinpointing and kind of narrow viewing into a couple things that sounds bad. That sounds bad either for the president or whoever they're going after. Problem is, when you look at the big picture, the narrative, the story, the truth changes. Obviously, truth doesn't change, but the way we perceive the truth changes. Okay, impeaching a president, a sitting president, is a very much of a legal matter. And when you're discussing a legal matter, you have to be impartial. You have to be blinded to the fact that whether you like the guy, whether you do not like the guy, whether you hate the guy, all that aside, and really focus on what the truth is, what the legality of things are. Not just the procedural part of it, but guilty or not guilty, right? That's what we're trying to figure out. If guilty, then impeach the guy. If not guilty, then shut up. What is more important, it seems like, to us in the media and by the deep state leftists, is the procedural matter. While the procedures are there, it has been put in place in order to ensure the process to arrive at the truth, the guilt or innocence, right? However, procedures are not the end goal. They're just the means to an end. They're not the end.
When you're talking about the removal of the President of the United States, undoing democracy, undoing what the American public had voted for, I think that individual should come before the committee.
So let's talk about this whistleblower situation. So the whistleblowers they're not disclosing their identity nor bringing them forth or letting anyone meet with them or question them or any of that. So I'm just supposed to show up and answer questions and go through all the procedural things that are prescribed by the Congress who wrote the rules for it, while I don't get to see who's accusing me and what they're exactly accusing me of. And I'm the one that's obstructing justice.
Chris, we are looking at abuse of power and a level of corruption here that makes the Nixon impeachment look like child's play.
Nixon impeachment was a child's play. You got to give them one thing. They're really good at spinning things and coming up with the rhetoric. But the truth here is the fact that they have nothing. They have no facts. They have no evidence. Only thing they could cry out and continue to repeat is obstruction of justice.
The whistleblower should be revealed because the whistleblower gave false stories. Some people would call it a fraud.
So to recap today's situation, it was obvious and no surprise whatsoever that these 4 lawyers did not comply and showed up to the hearing. If you think about it, these are lawyers that give advice to the president on a daily basis. From the White House's perspective, I mean, there's no way these guys are going to go to this hearing and comply to this interview. If any time at all, this is a time where you invoke the executive privilege and pretty much ban them from complying to this request. So at this point of the process, the Democrats may actually be forced to move on to the open hearing. So Adam Schiff actually has two choices here, to force and duke it out with these people, the White House, to subpoena them and try to charge them with obstruction and try to duke it out in court, or move on to the public and open public hearing if he feels that he has enough evidence to move forth, including the transcripts and whatnot. So he has a decision to make. Even if and when Adam Schiff decides to proceed with the open public hearing, here's a problem. With a recent, the resolution that passed last week by Congress, it affords Adam Schiff a 45 minutes of time limit to question the witness, whereas all the other members are limited to 5 minutes each. Adam Schiff gets to subpoena and invite whoever witness he wants, but the Republicans actually have to submit a list to Adam Schiff for it to be reviewed and approved. So you can sugarcoat this manure of a process all you want, but at the end of the day, it's still going to smell and taste like a fertilizer. That is why we need to focus on what the actual point of all this is. With the flood of information, especially being very technical and all these legal technicalities, such as obstruction and voting on the resolution and all these different things, can very easily disfocus us from what is actually important, what the point is. Point is not if we agree with what he did. President may have taken a very unorthodox approach in this whole Ukrainian situation. Even the most reasonable people may disagree with the type of approach that the president took in trying to achieve what he was trying to achieve. But the real question here is what he did constitutionally sufficient offense to be able to impeach and remove a sitting president, duly elected president of the United States? Hey, one more thing. I really appreciate all of you guys clicking the like and sharing and subscribing to our channel. There's one other way to support us by purchasing one of our original design t-shirts. This particular one, it has President's signature hairstyle on top, and it says 2020, Keep America Great, with the orange in the center. So this is on a great 100% cotton t-shirt, pre-shrunk, so you can wash it and it's not going to get any smaller or shrink anymore. And in the back of the neck design, it says Keep America Great 2020 as well. When you purchase this t-shirt, you'll be supporting the president as well as this channel to continue putting out these great videos. The link, please check out the link below, as well as leaving any kind of comments, encouragement, or things that you disagree with. Those are always welcome as well. We're here to start a conversation, not to shut anybody down, and it will be a great support for our channel. So until our next video, stay safe, stay yellow, God bless you, and God bless our republic.